Welcome to BQ Pram. I'm Hiral Dadia. A very good afternoon to all the viewers. Clearly, if you go to see a pretty lackluster day of trade is what we are witnessing in today's session. This is going to be the first trading session in terms of FY24, though we ended with a bang. What's in store from here on? Joining us on the show today to discuss the same is Amit Trivedi, VP, Technical and Derivative Research at Securities. Amit, good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi Hiral. Good afternoon.
Amit, overall, if you see in terms of where markets today, seems to be pretty lackluster as well. We're not seeing a major expansion happening in terms of where range goes. What's the anticipation? Is this one, because of a truncated week? And two, is there something where we will start seeing selling pressure at higher levels?
Now, see, first of all, if we look at the overall theme of the market, and if I compare the Indian market with respect to global markets, now see, till the December 2022, there was a theme that India was doing well as compared to global market, US markets, and even within the emerging markets, Indian markets were doing well till the December 2022. But in the current year, in the current calendar year, we can see the Indian markets are basically going through the corrective phase. In the past couple of months, we saw that most of rally recover remained short-lived in the Nifty. But on the other hand, we can clearly see that comparatively US markets are doing well. They are pretty much holding ground. So from here on, yes, since past couple of weeks, as you mentioned, markets are choppy. But the kind of recovery which we have seen in the previous week, I believe that from here on, levels of 17,000 will act as a support zone. And as long it sustains above 17,000, yes, mild upside short-term release possible in the Nifty.
Right. So, two important factors that I was noticing over here is that after 3 consecutive months of decline is where we've seen Nifty end in the positive, number one. Two, in Friday's session, Nifty also cleared the 20-day EMA. Now, from here on, if Nifty has to sustain above those 17,300 levels, what are the kind of prominent names which would actually participate in that up move according to you?
Right. So we saw overall we saw multi-month decline in the Nifty, but if I look at the expiry data, now see Bank Nifty was relatively doing well. Basically, Bank Nifty outperformed the benchmark index. So from here on, a sustenance in the Bank Nifty is basically essential for any sustained rally to set in the Nifty. So from here, I would largely focus on the Bank Nifty because from here on, 40,000 is the key support for the Bank Nifty. So if it remains above that, then yes, we might see a further outperformance from the Bank Nifty.
Right. And if you see in terms of Bank Nifty as well, it's back to its 50-day EMA already. And it's clearly outperformed the Nifty as well in the last 1 month. Today's session as well, there is outperformance coming in from Bank Nifty versus Nifty. What, according to you, should be the levels we should be tracking from a support and resistance perspective now?
Right. So, Bank Nifty is trending up for the consecutive fourth session, and if I look at the internal structure of the internal breadth of the Bank Nifty, which is also improving, we saw that private bankings are doing well. And apart from that, yes, traction is there in the PSU basket as well. So from here on, as I said, for Bank Nifty, 40,000 is the key support, and for the April series, we can say. And if it remains above 40,000, then more or less gradually, I'm expecting Bank Nifty to inch higher till the levels of 41,500 to 42,000.
Right. Overall, so that's what it looks like in terms of Nifty as well as Bank Nifty. Now, moving to individual names as well, auto has been in focus in today's session. Oil and gas companies are in focus as well. Let's pick up, for example, an ONGC in trade today. A good long build-up is seen in terms of ONGC. What should the strategy be from here on?
Now, see, overall structure has improved for the ONGC. Recently, we saw shallow correction in the ONGC, but on the downside, the stock has defended levels of 145, and from that zone only, which we saw that the stock has recovered. And so from here on, I believe gradual outperformance is possible from the ONGC. But will continue to remain at 145, and any sustenance above 150 will gradually lift the stock till the levels of 165 to 170.
Right. Apart from that, you have a Hero Moto, which is the top gainer in terms of Nifty 50 as well today. And again, long build up seen in terms of Hero Moto. What would you advise a trader to do?
Now, see, Hero MotoCorp was basically consistent underperform from the auto space. And in fact, for the current year so far, also the stock is down by 11%. No doubt, recovery is visible in the recent past because the stock was basically into a oversold reason. So from here on, 2350 will be an immediate support for the Hero MotoCorp. And I believe, yes, short-term bounce is possible, but major move on the upside is unlikely. So I believe that it might revisit levels of 2500, but incremental up move is unlikely in the Hero MotoCorp. Uh,
Right. How are you looking at Mahanagar Gas, Indraprasth Gas, a BPCL as well as an HPCL? What are charts indicating? Because there is good amount of short build-up that's being seen on these counters.
So for MGL, now see it was holding ground, but we can see a sudden change in sentiment in the MGL. We saw that in past few weeks, the stock was holding above the levels of 950. But today we can see a comparatively large sell-off on a comparatively higher volumes. So I believe that from here on 980 will be act as a immediate hurdle zone for the MGL. And if it remains below 940, then yes, further correction till 880 is possible. So I would better suggest that avoid this stock because the stock is likely to remain volatile from here on as well.
Right. Overall, again, we are seeing, long positions being built up with regards to where GMR Infra goes. The stock is up around 7.5%, open interest additions to the tune of around 12 to 13% as we speak. Volumes are also pretty strong on this counter. What should the strategy be, Amit?
So structure is improving for this GMR infra, but I would suggest this stock to consider from medium to long term perspective and not from trading perspective. Because from in near term, this stock will continue to remain volatile. But if I look at the overall structure, then yes, there is a upside potential till the levels of 52 to 55. So I would suggest to accumulate this stock from medium term perspective.
Okay. Apart from that, how are you looking at a federal bank? Because again, Federal, Bandhan, both these financial names as well as, PNB, we're not seeing too much of open interest addition, but at least a Bandhan and a federal bank is seeing strong amount of open interest addition. The stock is seeing good moves as well.
Right. So no doubt on the downside, Federal Bank is the stock has decisively held the support of 125. But the required momentum on the upside is missing because the key hurdle is somewhere near 136. So for levels to watch out from here is basically 136. If it breaks through above 136, then yes, we might see upside really till the levels of 150.
Right. Overall, how are you looking at a Balrampur Chini? The volumes are down on this counter, but there is good amount of open interest addition and the stock is in the positive.
See, overall structure for the Balrampur Chini remains positive. Recently, we saw that the stock is basically going through the consolidation phase. But on the downside, 350 to 360, there are the cluster of support zone, and the stock rebounded from the support zone itself. So overall structure remains positive, and considering that, I would suggest to accumulate basically this stock because gradually I'm expecting this stock to surpass the levels of 500.
Right. From the metal names, what would your view be with a Hindalco, Tata Steel, as well as an NMDC? Three stocks if you want to watch out for.
Now, see, if I understand the overall structure of the auto index, a metal index first, then for the current year so far, in fact, we can see the metal index is basically a major underperformer. But if I look at the stocks within the metal space, then yes, if I look at the structure of the Jindal Steel, then comparatively it is better. So somewhere near 530 to 520, there are a cluster of support zone for the Jindal Steel. And any stability in the metal space will attract buying interest in the Jindal Steel.
Okay. And apart from that, if you see in terms of other names, if you say like a HUL or an ITC, what are charts and what is the derivative data indicating for both these names?
See, for the current year, so far, the only sector which is providing a positive return is basically FMCG index. And from here on also, if I look at the FMCG index, then yes, further outperformance is possible. And within the FMCG, yes, ITC will continue to do well because during the recent decline, the stock has basically managed to sustain above the levels of 370, which is immediate support zone. So I'm expecting within the FMCG, ITC should do well. And gradually, I'm expecting levels of 420 to 430 on the higher side.
Right. Apart from the names that we discussed, Amit, anything that comes to your radar that one should be watching for from a Wednesday's trade perspective?
See, on sectoral front now, see, outlook is quite mixed, but yes, one should watch out for the pharma space because the pharma underperformed significantly. But in the recent past, now see some amount of stability is visible in the pharma space. So I expect selected stocks to do well from the pharma space, like Glenmark Pharma and Dr. Reddy.
Right. And anything that strikes you from the IT space, because you have IT results that will be on the corner as well. So you would see some bit of an action that will pick up in terms of IT majors.
So IT was the dragger basically in the recent past, and from here on, yes, no doubt short-term release possible. But major upside is unlikely. But still, within the IT space, one can keep an eye on stocks like HCL Tech because comparatively structure is bullish for the HCL Tech, and I'm expecting HCL Tech to surpass the levels of 1200. So it will take time. If it is for medium-term perspective, then yes, one can watch out for HCL Tech.
Right. And very lastly, in terms of a Vedanta as well, price decline along with a strong OI, and there has been selling in the cash market as well. Are we expecting the downside to continue basis the data that we see?
See, for Vedanta, now basically the stock is stuck within a band. On the higher side, this levels of 290 acting as a hurdle zone, while on the downside, we can see it is finding support somewhere near 265 to 270. So I believe this ongoing consolidation is expected to continue. We need a decisive breakthrough about 290 for any revival to set in. So I would suggest to better to avoid, at least from the trading perspective.
Right. So that's with regards to where Vedanta goes as well. So a lot of stocks that we should be watching out for and a lot of counters that we should avoid, as Amit mentioned. Thank you, Amit, so much for joining us on the show and sharing those strategies with us. But overall, as mentioned, it has been a pretty lackluster day of trade in today's session. If you see in terms of Nifty as well, 7427 is what Nifty opened at. We touched a high of 7428. That was the highest point of the day in terms of opening. And currently, if you see, we're trading below that 17,400 mark, 17,395. So the range between today's low and today's high, not a major 110 points is the kind of range in terms of Nifty 50. And if you see in terms of Bank Nifty, that's clearly outperformed Nifty in today's session as well. And as we mentioned earlier in the month of March as well. We've hit a high of around 40,851. We're just around 50 points away from the day's highest levels. But Bank Nifty has been an uptrend since opening. If you see the advanced decline ratio as well, very similar to what we saw in in the last day of FY23. 11 have advanced, one has declined, and it's AU Small Finance Bank, which is on a downtrend. If you see in terms of Nifty 50 as well, in terms of the stocks, again, it's the auto pack that has been leading the day. Hero Moto, Bajaj Auto, as well as a Maruti. Apart from that, you have a Coal India, which is in the positive, as well as a Bajaj Finance. On the negative front, you have a BPCL, Adani Enterprises, Apollo Hospitals, I beg your pardon, ITC, as well as Infosys, which is putting pressure. In terms of the Sensex as well, if you go to see, clearly, a marginal 50 points jump is what we're seeing in today's session. And overall, in terms of stock-specific action as well, RVNL on the back of an order one. KPIT Technologies has seen a major downtick in today's session on the back of the brokerage note that has come in. Overall, again, a lot of, stock-specific action we've continued to see. OMCs, specifically from a HPCL, BPCL kind of a marketing company's perspective, due to the way crude has jumped on the back of what OPEC has done on production cuts, you have these companies, marketing companies that have been trading under pressure. But if you talk about like the likes of an ONGC as well as Oil India, they have been up in trade. Karnataka Bank 4.5% downtick on the back of the Q4 business earnings update that they've come up with as well. So a lot of stock-specific action is what we are seeing in today's session of trade. However, a lackluster day of trade is what we've seen, and tomorrow is a holiday for the market. So it is a truncated week. Friday is going to be a holiday as well for Good Friday. So probably the volumes are expected to be low as well. That's all that we have in this session. Thanks for watching and enjoy your holiday tomorrow.